Hi, I'm Larry Gifford. I have Parkinson's disease. This is When Life Gives You Parkinson's. Joining me on the podcast journey is my wife and partner in Parkinson's, Rebecca Gifford.
Hello.
Hello, my darling.
I'm so excited about this episode because we're talking about something that has been a part of our lives for many years now.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, we aired an integrative medicine episode. It got a really strong response. Like lots of people going, hey, thank you, yay, you're talking about that. And so many of you have tried and benefited from holistic perspective to wellness and open-minded ideas of what kinds of healings are available and helpful for you. And you were excited that we were acknowledging that and talking about that. Others of you are like, tell me more. I didn't know this world existed. So we decided to continue the conversation this week, expand it, and showcase some different kinds of healing practices. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about holistic modalities that acknowledge the importance of energetic balance and energetic awareness.
You and I are both fortunate to have been exposed to many different kinds of medicine and healing over the years. It really started back when I was a licensed massage therapist for several years, when we lived in the Los Angeles area and then in Seattle. So 10 or 15 years ago, back in the olden days.
The olden days.
And then through the training school that I went to and the bodywork community that we met, we both worked with some amazing practitioners offering any number of different kinds of sessions. I think we tried almost everything. We're searchers.
Yeah.
But we tried things like craniosacral therapy, Heller work, aromatherapy, energetic medicine, myofascial release, acupuncture. I even took a class in the Alexander technique.
Do you remember floating?
Yes, we did do some floating in Seattle, didn't we?
Yeah, with a little sensory deprivation.
Yes.
Getting in tanks.
Every body work or other kind of session I've ever participated in has had an energetic intention and component. It plays a significant role in even the most mainstream holistic practices that many of us have tried, like massage therapy, yoga, mindfulness meditation, acupuncture, naturopathy, Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine. Even health insurance companies will cover most or all of these.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them, yeah. And they're all about bringing about homeostasis, stimulating or calming the mind, body, and energy so that you can find your natural balance and energy flow. They ultimately promote the body's natural ability to heal and find greater overall wellness. And they also can help us more clearly access our own inner peace and wisdom.
And for us, to different degrees, we've benefited from all the body work and energy modalities we've tried. Some of them have been a regular part of our wellness practices for a decade or so, but neither of us had experienced Reiki until a year and a half ago at the World Parkinson Congress. Reiki is what most people think of when you hear of energy healing. It's been taught and practiced in the West since the 1930s, but it was developed in the 1920s in Japan. And that happens to be where you, my darling, had a Reiki session.
I did. The last 3 World Parkinson Congresses we've discovered have offered free Reiki sessions to participants. When we attended in Kyoto in 2019, there was a room dedicated to these amazing local practitioners that were offering massage, which I definitely participated in, and it was a really nice massage, and Reiki sessions. My Reiki session was with a lovely man named Moniki Muhammad. It was very peaceful, very balancing. What a great experience. That's one of the top memories that I have from the World Parkinson Congress.
Well, because of you and others who experienced that, I was really curious. So I asked Eli Pollard of the World Parkinson Congress, can you connect me with the Reiki practitioners? And she goes, sure.
I am Manikai Muhammad. I am originally from Phoenix, Arizona. I've been living in Japan for 21 years. I do Reiki, been doing Reiki since 2016. Done hula dancing also. I'm also a certified life coach and just recently started my career in sound healing, combining Reiki and sound healing together. So doing that as well.
Wow, that's cool.
My name is Lena Takahashi. I'm originally from Ukraine, And I came to Japan 16 years ago. Now I permanently live in Japan. And Reiki practitioner, Reiki teacher, and I also Ayurvedic health consultant. I also continue in my study in herbs and health living.
Well, you guys are living good lives then, with all you doing. That's great. So you both were at the World Parkinson Congress in Kyoto. Thank you for being there. What did you notice about people from the Parkinson's community that you worked with?
I noticed that the people of the Parkinson's community are determined. That would be the best way to put it. They're extremely determined to take back their lives from Parkinson's. They are putting a lot of their energy and efforts into exploring and learning what can be done, what can be learned, what new techniques exist, because the people are determined to take their lives back from this very cruel condition. And I also noticed that everyone is the spirit of defeat or sadness doesn't exist. There's a strength there that it was very impressive and touching and heartwarming.
What symptoms seem to be most impacted positively by the Reiki sessions?
The people who received the most is that when the session started, we noticed an immediate people would go into relaxation mode and sleep. And so they woke up with less stress, and their tremors, they were having less tremors than they were. Some people had remarkably less tremors. Some people had a little less tremors, but each person who received a Reiki session from us was grateful and said, "Thank you. I'm feeling much better than I was before. And how could I get more information about Reiki?" So when they go home, they could explore it if they chose to do so.
What I noticed is, well, I have to be honest, I never interacted with people who had Parkinson. So for me, it was very new experience. And I was also excited to see what Reiki can do. A lot of people were reporting that they had a very bad jet lag and maybe just, the diet, the food change. And Japan is a very like high, especially Kyoto, culturally, it's very different. So when I could see that today, I could see them looking, walking very good, and tomorrow they were completely off. So I just didn't know. Oh, it seems like this is what Parkinson does. Today they feel great, tomorrow they're not. So when the times when they were not feeling great, um, just having 15 minutes of Reiki session with us, they were amazed that people who had a really bad tremors, that they could be completely still only after 15 minutes of Reiki sessions. And when they would come back the next day, they were saying that they could sleep better. And one person we had, that person even goes occasionally with their own Reiki practitioner, but maybe the energy we work with could help that person to be completely still, that person didn't feel maybe for 15 or 20 years. And they could sleep completely like still and didn't move the whole night. So we were receiving a lot of like reports that were like really amazing us. And we were telling everyone that, guys, if you can afford it in your own country, please put it in another complementary medicine for whatever you guys usually do to keep yourself great.
The beautiful thing about Reiki, Larry, is that anyone can do it, including people with Parkinson's. And so, like, if a Parkinson's person gets the Reiki attunement, they can do Reiki for themselves.
Sure.
And also, like, for example, if the caregivers can also give Reiki to their loved one with Parkinson's, and also to themselves, because it really is a life management tool that it only helps.
Yeah, and when I was at Parkinson's, I saw a lot of people coming, like, family trip. You came, three of you came, right?
Right. Yeah. My wife and my son came. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was so like amazed that the whole family would come to Japan, and I was asking myself, okay, you see that all of them very supportive, and they look happy, but what is behind the scene? And I was really happy to listen to your podcast because you guys talk what is behind the scene. And I was thinking that, Reiki could help for caregivers, of course, not just to only, give you like Reiki sessions, but also to manage, themselves, their emotions or relationship, or helping to go through the changes that husband and wife goes through. And I think your wife mentioned is as a caregiver, we have a role of wife, and now we have a role of caregivers. So like where to put the line, where to put the, how to bring, some boundaries to each role. And I think Reiki can really help with that.
So, for those who are uninitiated, how do you define Reiki?
The simplest definition is that it's a Japanese technique that provides stress and relaxation, and therefore allows the body to regenerate itself using the body's natural healing energy. It's a natural energy, a natural frequency of this universe, and anyone can do it. It's not like something someone has to train like exceptionally long times. It's more like saying everyone has the ability to do it, but a Reiki practitioner is a person who has taken the class to have that ability switched on. And it's available to us to use whenever we want, just by the power of intention.
When did you first learn about it?
Leno had been telling me, you need to take a Reiki session. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. When I finally took the Reiki session, when I opened my eyes, my mind was quiet and calm for the first time I don't remember. And I immediately said, I have to know what this is, because if it could quiet my mind to that degree, it has to be beneficial. And so from that day on, I've been curious and interested in Reiki.
So when your mind gets quiet and uncluttered and unbusy, how does that make you feel?
Centered, grounded, peaceful. It's like having a burden lifted from you that you didn't even know you had. That's the only way I can describe it, because when my mind is that way, you become accustomed to it until I finally had it relieved with all that extra energy. And it was like, wow, this is what being peaceful and being at peace feels like. And it's like, I want to know more about this and possibly share it with others.
How did you, Lena, feel after your first couple of encounters?
For me, I felt like something being opened for me to hear like guidance. That's for me was like my first session was like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. I was more able to hear the guidance from the source. We all usually available to us, but there's something that's blocking us to hear. And for me, that was really powerful. And physically, my body felt very aligned, and I felt like very comfortable being in my body.
You both took a little time before you agreed to have your first session. What was the hesitation?
For me, I was like, I don't know what it is, and I tried to search on it, and I tried to read it, and it's like, kind of like you cannot understand what it really is until you actually have a session with someone. And for me, I was interested in a particular lady who was coming only once a month. So, yeah.
For myself, it was more a case of just when your mind is busy and you're dealing with the day-to-day things, you feel like, yeah, I'll get to it when I can, and you just keep putting it off. But more also, like Lena said, let me put it this way. A fish that has been in water all the time doesn't know what air feels like until it brings it out for the first time. Reiki is simply one of those things that a person simply has to experience it at least 10 minutes of just a sample to get an idea of what it is. It really feels that good, and 10 minutes alone will give a person an introduction to open the door to being open to the concept.
All right. So if I were to come to your office and you were going to sit me down for a Reiki session, what would we do?
Well, you fill out the Reiki client form. You just go over the disclaimer that Reiki is a complementary therapy. It does not replace medical therapy, and that we would discuss what you're coming for. Are you coming for your relaxation? Are you coming just to experience Reiki? And then we would place you on the table, Reiki table, or if you're comfortable in a chair, you would sit in a chair and play soft music, and we would proceed to give you a Reiki session.
What does that mean?
Basically, when you're coming for a Reiki session, like picture that it's, usually when people receive massage, there's physical interaction. With Reiki session, there shouldn't be necessary to have like person actually touching you. There is a few like points in the body that usually a practitioner would go through. It can be soft touch, or if somebody is not comfortable with being touched, kind of like practitioner bring their hands close to your body.
So, yes, a Reiki session, think of it as a touchless massage. It is not necessary for the practitioner to actually touch the person to transmit the Reiki. Just hovering their hands near the client will actually transmit the energy, and you would receive that. And you would receive Reiki energy. So either a light touch or no touch at all.
Are you directing the energy through your hands into my body?
Yes, we are sending the energy to your body through our hands. But the important thing to understand about Reiki is that it is an external source of energy. It is not that I am giving you or giving the client my own energy. The easiest way to think of it is the same way a cell phone charger, you plug it into the wall and you plug that other end into the phone. The power is flowing through the cell phone charger, but it's not coming from the cell phone charger. That's why Reiki it's an energy that's around us, and the practitioner has gone through the necessary training to channel the energy through them, but it's not coming from them.
Do people who have never experienced this, is that what they're skeptical about? Is like, you're not even touching me, how can you possibly be helping me?
That is one of the things, and because many people, it's the concept is new. It's like, okay, what are you doing, and how are you doing this? What am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to do? Well, no, just sit there and I'm going to put my hands near you. You just relax. Many people find it difficult to believe that something like that exists because there's nothing they can compare it to in their culture or where they're from. And also they think this, you're performing some hocus pocus, it's some magic, or this is some woo-woo stuff. It's like, no, this is natural energy.
This is just great life management tool.
Who would be a good candidate for Reiki?
Anyone, everyone. Reiki is applicable to anyone and anyone at any time. There's not like any one particular type of person who does need it or doesn't. A person who is what you would call physically healthy and able-bodied, but we all have stress. And so even just for the stress management, Reiki is beneficial.
When we speak about, that anyone can use Reiki, it's maybe sometimes difficult to focus on who do we want to address it. But as Monica mentioned, first, what is really nowadays a big problem is the stress, and this is how a lot of illnesses are coming from. So the first major things maybe we could address is stress management. And then depends on the situation, you can bring Reiki to manage like relationship to with your partner, with your children, with coworkers. Reiki has no limits. That's all how I can put it.
Do you have anything you want to say to skeptics of energetic healing?
A lot of people who are skeptics because, well, to be quite honest, they're afraid of something, that there's something beyond what they know. They're comfortable with their own level of like, okay, this is the way the world works. This is the way it is. It's like, but the concept that there's something else that's real, that's scientific, that's not spooky, is a bit of a leap of faith for them. And for example, there's a person with Parkinson's by the name of Karl Robb, who by his own definition, he says he went from huge skeptic to Reiki master because Reiki, he had a chance encounter with a Reiki master. He was skeptical. And from the moment he got on the table, it was like, wow, I have to learn this. His wife, who was sitting in the room, also a skeptic, said that the results were so wonderful. Now they're both Reiki masters.
Wow. And
also, Reiki is being researched by scientists. There's many hospitals, over 800 in the United States and many around the world. They're adding Reiki as a complementary therapy to the hospitals. There's much research that has been done that says that the science says that while they cannot define exactly what Reiki is, the scientific data saying that it is something and it does work. Now, of course, the sample size of the research is small. Larger scale research must be done, but there is scientific research out there for people who say, well, it's not scientific. Yes, there is. Center for Reiki Research. And for people with Parkinson's, if they look up Karl Robb, Karlrobb, he's a young onset Parkinson's practitioner who speaks about Parkinson's and Reiki on his blog.
Wow. That's great.
I really appreciate that they mentioned that we often don't know how something will affect us or even potentially be a really positive part of our integrative medicine choices until we try it. Back in the day, there were lots of different kinds of sessions that I likely would have never tried unless I was encouraged to do so or met somebody who was a practitioner. I'm so glad I did because my health, personal growth, and overall well-being has been positively affected by this exploration. Honestly, I can't imagine having the resiliency and the humor and perspective necessary for what we're facing right now without some form of energetic awareness and then the mindfulness practices that I've cultivated because of this work.
Yeah, I mean, the mindfulness is huge because for me, it brings a lot of neutrality. It allows me to be here now and just sort of, not be able to be in a place without judgment of the moment. And that's really just sort of like, acknowledging that that's happening, whatever it is, and then figuring out how to, move forward. So in the interview, Maniki mentioned Karl Robb, who is an activist. He's a blogger. He's an author. He's got 2 books. He's also a Reiki master who has been in the Parkinson's community now. He was diagnosed 30 years ago. He and his wife, Angela, are both Reiki masters. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a jackpot. Let's call them up. We need them on the show. I see Karl and Angela. Hello.
Welcome. Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you both.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thanks for joining us on such short notice. I thought, well, let's just give it a shot and see if they're available.
Well, I had no idea my name was being talked about.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're famous. Like we're honored to have you on the show.
How did Reiki come to you?
It was funny. My father was having he wasn't feeling well, so someone offered him to get a Traeger session, and I never heard Traeger. And my father asked the Traeger practitioner, would good for his son with Parkinson's, and they said yes.
Yeah, they gave him the phone
They gave
number.
him the phone number for the Traeger Society, I think in New York City, to find out for a local Traeger practitioner in my area. And I called, and they said, well, there's someone in your area that's Traeger. Well, I looked him up, and it was just moving his office from Alexandria to Fairfax, and right down about less than a mile as a crow flies.
From our house.
From our house. And it's
Wow.
like, well, that's convenient. So so we went to go see him, and he said, I do Traeger, but I kind of bastardized a series of modalities, and one of the things I focus on is Reiki. I go, what's Reiki? And Ed took on with me, and he said, this is using universal energy and touch. I was having a bad day, and it sounded kind of hokey to me, to both of us. And I wasn't exposed to it, and he's willing to do a session on me. I'll try it. So I got on the table, and an hour later, I woke up and I felt great. I felt like I was glowing, and I sat up, and Angela saw me, and she said, "Okay, I'm next."
That's fantastic.
Let me on.
Right?
What were you feeling? Like when you went into that first session, how was your body feeling? And then what released?
I wasn't walking well. I felt stiff. I felt I didn't feel totally clear mentally. It was just it was not a day where my meds were working totally well. It's like a total shift happened. And that night we had an occasional Chinese restaurant that we used to get takeout from, and food tasted better.
Yeah, it was just ordinary Chinese takeout. It wasn't anything special. And we tasted that food. We were like, this is the best food we have ever had. And like,
What kind of energy did he give me? That's great.
Exactly. We're like, what the heck just happened?
I think Reiki it's given me a boost in so many ways, but I almost consider it a form of DBS without the wires.
The body's a battery, and when you get close enough, you're taking this universal energy, which is everywhere. It's all around us. It's in every, the trees and in the air, and you can't see it, but you know that it's there. And then we just act as the conduit. We don't tell the energy where to go. It just seems to know where to go, and it knows what to do. The intention is to be of service and to be compassionate towards the person.
As you intimated, Reiki, and anytime you integrate something like that into your life, any kind of energetic awareness, it just kind of changes the way of being, right? It changes the way you approach the world and people and humanity and your awareness of what's around you.
Oh yeah,
you're exactly right, Rebecca. It doesn't all happen at once. It's a slow progression. It takes a long time. Certainly that first level class, it took a long time just to do the self-treatment.
How does Reiki benefit you as a care partner?
Whoa, that's a big one, Rebecca. Actually, this part came out just recently when I did the WPC virtual care partner talk series. Somebody had a question about anger and patience, or patience, I guess, was mostly the question. And I think Reiki has really brought a depth for my patience, balancing my emotional state. Since Reiki works on all levels, mind, body, and spirit, the personal practice I have keeps me grounded, keeps me centered. When I start to see the impacts of stress and I get more upset and more anxious, I know that's when I have to go back and do a little bit more of my practice. Karl sees it. Right away, he'll say, I think there's something going on. So it really has brought me a capacity that I didn't have before, and being grounded and being centered and being compassionate and dealing with the stress, whether it's COVID or Karl maybe having a down day or me not feeling so well. Those practices really give me the opportunity to pull the tool out of my toolbox and help myself. So I'm all around better.
I love the way that you put that. It's a tool in your toolbox, a really powerful one, but we need those powerful ones as care partners and as people with Parkinson's, right? You got to pull out the big guns if you need the big guns in there, right?
Exactly. And also Karl recognizing that I do need that. Some days I say, wait a minute, there's something going on. I just need to take some extra time for myself. Or can you, give me a short session, or can we do something that, let's go for a walk, because I just really need to balance myself. So we go out, we take a walk around the neighborhood, we come back, I feel a lot better. I think getting to know yourself on both levels,
it's centering.
Centering and grounding.
And it's about knowing yourself and knowing
a man's got to know his limitations.
You stole my line.
And woman, sorry.
I was quote Dirty Harry. Yeah.
Who doesn't?
It's so true, though. I mean, you've got to know your limitations, but still go push those limitations to a point where you're still safe. If you don't push yourself, you're not gonna know what you're capable of.
Anybody who was at the WPC in Montreal or in Portland may have experienced Reiki with you. What was that experience like for you?
It was great. I was energized the whole time. So the great thing is I get the benefit, the energy as well when we're on the client.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being a practitioner. People think, oh, you must be drained after working on all those people. No, that's not the way it works. It's the universe. So we just act as a conduit, but pieces of it kind of flow off to us because we are acting as the pipeline to the individual.
What was the reaction of the people there? Were they all familiar with Reiki and they're like, oh, this is cool? Or are they going, what the hell is this?
Actually, everybody, I mean, we tried to give them a little speech in the beginning, like, just sit back, relax, you can close your eyes, if you fall asleep, that's okay. We go through this like checklist. And the thing I noticed is they get giggly after. They're like, all of a sudden, they're kind of chill and they laugh more at the end of the session.
They talk more too.
And they talk more too. Like going in, they're a little hesitation. And then all the barriers kind of come down and they're like, yeah.
Humor is so important and sometimes Parkinson's can be, I hate to say it can be funny. It can lead to some funny situations. And
especially during COVID and
right.
Parkinson's
being with each other.
Parkinson's Parkinson's like a chess game, a chess game in a Rube Goldberg installment. It's you think the game's going, you have a strategy, and then
somebody takes the board and flips it upside down.
That's why you have plan A plus plan A or plan B, plan C. If you don't keep your sense of humor, it makes things harder. I think you have to laugh every day.
We laugh at ourselves.
I laugh at her.
How did you guys meet?
Oh,
you had Parkinson's.
Sounds like that's quite a story.
You had Parkinson's at 18.
I was in prison.
Well, back in the day, not in prison. Back in the day, there was something called America Online, and we met on AOL in a chat room.
That's awesome.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Amazing.
And I made her laugh.
Yeah, his P key stuck on his keyboard. He made a lot of jokes about his P key.
I'm still processing that.
So random.
I had tons of jokes for that. So, but we can't do that on this podcast.
This is our 25th anniversary year. So.
So
I met Karl after his diagnosis.
I was amazed that she said yes because it took a really strong, loving person to say not knowing what the future brought with Parkinson's.
I love the man. I don't love the disease. I hate the disease, but I love the man. I'm not going to give him up for he has a neurological condition. Come on.
Well, that's great. You guys are awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah.
You guys are too.
No, you're so great.
No, you're so great. The Mutual Admiration Society. It was so fun talking with them.
Can't we just have them on the show every week?
Right.
Floating. We mentioned floating before. And that was really interesting for me. It was before my diagnosis. And I would, that was like the idea of being like in this water bath chamber.
Sensory deprivation.
Yeah, they basically put you in a coffin with water.
I guess so, yes, because it's all dark and...
Yeah, the top's closed and...
Right.
And it takes a while. It's a salt bath, so you're like floating. Like, there's enough salt in there that you can just float on top of the water, kind of. And I was like, okay, I'll try this. And at first, like, you're fast breathing, and you're like, your heart's thumping, and you're like, and then after a while, you're like, whoa. And then at some point, the little music turns on, and your session's over, and you're like, whoa, that was quick. But like it just sort of like it takes all the pressure off your bones and your joints and your muscles because you're just like floating in midair or floating in water, as it were.
What did you do for your mind?
I traveled the universe in my mind. Just kind of floated through the stars. It was great.
It's the thoughts that pop in that can be telling about what's happening for you and what's coming up for you and what maybe you need to be paying attention to. The floating is one way that you can get to that very peaceful, quiet place so you can hear what you need to hear.
One modality that I resisted for until this year, 2020, when my neuropathy got so bad and the pain got so bad, people were like suggesting things. I'm trying everything. Is the needles.
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture, yes.
And you resisted it largely, if I recall, because of your aversion to needles. He's significantly resistant to needles.
So can you do this without the needles? That would be fantastic. But the needles aren't a big deal. You feel the chi in your body moving, and it like half of the time you can't even feel them go in. If and sometimes they do, and you just tell them, "Oh," and then they go, "Oh, sorry," and it's no big deal. But then, like, you're sitting there and you've got like a needle between your eyes and all over your scalp and on your arms and your fingers and your wrists and your ankles and your toes, and you're like, I feel like I'm a superhero or something, just sort of sitting here with needles all over me. But no, after a while, you just relax. It really helped with the pain, along with the pharmaceuticals. Like, I did both. I just didn't choose one or the other.
Well, and I think that's important to point out, is that we embrace traditional medicine as well, and pharmaceuticals when they're helpful. As the name integrative medicine suggests, it's integrating all of it. East and West, energetic, traditional, allopathic, naturopathic. All of that can play a role depending on what works for you and what helps to bring your own natural balance.
You know what I love the most? It's one day my practitioner who does the needles thing.
Acupuncturist.
She suggested cupping. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And it's these glass, like, wine cups or something. That's what it reminds me. I was like the rounded without the stems. And they heat them up and then they put them on your back. And so then you have like 10 of these cups on your back. And they're heated up, and so there's suction to your back. And then she slowly takes them off one at a time. It feels so good. And then you're left with like these purple rings on your back, but that's all the toxins coming out. It's great.
Yeah, it's meant to be kind of clearing of the natural toxins and chemicals and stuff we're all exposed to all the time.
That was my favorite.
You like the cupping more than the acupuncture?
Oh, yeah.
Because it didn't involve needles?
Yes.
I think it's important to acknowledge the role that emotions and trauma and stress play on our body wellness, that mind-body connection. Pain is often connected to significant stress or a particular experience or grief. things that we're all experiencing right now, more so than in a typical day. Just acknowledging that fact and understanding that mind-body connection can take you a long way towards healing it when traditional medicine doesn't address it. Just try and see what works.
Everybody's Parkinson's is different. And that's the great thing, is we are this giant universe of people with Parkinson's. We're a global community, so let's use the global tools to try to, make us feel better, to try to solve Parkinson's. Don't limit ourselves to our borders and what we know and are comfortable with.
If you're like me and you sometimes like to read about something before trying it, there are many well-known researchers, care providers, authors who explore the energetic and emotional aspects of wellness, including Dr. John Sarno, a little-known author named Deepak Chopra. He has a few books. A researcher and therapist named Barbara Ann Brennan, Dr. James Gordon, and many others. We encourage you to look around and discover who may speak to you and what kinds of practices may speak to you.
Well, our guests today also have some great resources you can tap into. Lena Maniki's healing practice has a website, healinglandreiki.com, and they're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Karl Robb has a website, karlrobb.com. That's Karl with a K and Robb with two B's, so KarlRobb.com. And there you can access his award-winning blog and purchase 2 books, among other things. A Soft Voice in a Noisy World, A Guide to Dealing and Healing with Parkinson's Disease was written by Karl, and then Karl and Angela together developed a companion workbook. The website also has links to follow Karl on social media. We also have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And so if people are wanting to share what they do, I would love to hear that.
Yes, please share that.
And if you have a story or just sort of a modality that you particularly like, send it our way. We'll try it.
Happy healing, everybody.
Happy healing. This is When Life Gives You Parkinson's, a Curious Cast podcast. Our story producer is Dila Velazquez. Sound design by Greg Schott.
The presenting partner is Parkinson Canada. Diagnosed with Parkinson's? You are not alone. Parkinson.ca.
Thanks also to our promotional partners, Spotlight YOPD, the only organization in the world with a singular focus of raising awareness of young onset Parkinson's disease. You can find them at spotlightyopd.org.
The Michael J. Fox Foundation, Parkinson's podcast, hosted by Larry Gifford.
I know him.
Available on Apple Podcast and at michaeljfox.org.
The World Parkinson Congress 2022 in Barcelona, Spain.
I'm going to Barcelona.
Go to WPC2022.org for details on special virtual events that you can participate in now. They also have a virtual Congress coming up, so check that out.
And PD Avengers. Ready to help end Parkinson's? Join now at pdavengers.com.
And thank you for listening. Please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, CastBox, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're there, give the show a 5-star healing rating, and feel free to comment.
You can also engage with us on social media. It's at Parkinson's Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or email us at parkinsonspod@curiouscast.ca.
I know some of you have these awesome email lists of people that you blast things to.
And great Instagram followings and all kinds of things.
Oh, it would be so cool if you shared this with them.
Keep positive.
Keep exercising.
Keep listening.
We'll talk to you next time.
Canada may be known for its landscapes and friendly people, but beneath the surface lies a darker side of crime, history, and the paranormal. Since 2017, the award-winning Dark Poutine podcast has explored the shadowy corners of the Great White North and beyond, delivering chilling tales from a uniquely Canadian perspective. Hosted by Mike Brown and Matthew Stockton with over 300 episodes and fresh releases every Monday, Dark Poutine is your weekly ticket to the creepier side of Canada. Listen to Dark Poutine on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.